Good morning. Thank you, Don. Up until about 2008, I had been teaching for 15 years, 16 years, and I had become very good at documenting all that wasn't right with public education. I had worked in independent schools, with charter schools, and traditional public schools, and I was really good at the teacher whining thing because we have a very challenging job. When I met Don really helped me make a transition from being the complainer in the room to the teacher leader in the room. And if your colleagues have supported you in being here today, and if your principal and administrators and corporate buddies have said, we want you to be coming together as teachers, we are all teacher leaders. Even if you're not here today, you're in the classroom, and you probably could see yourself as a leader there. So Don has really helped me move towards teacher solutions. I worked with the Center for Teaching Quality in 2009, and we wrote a paper about effective working conditions. So we know that teachers are one of the most important factors in student achievement in schools. But we also know that we have to have a schedule that works for teachers. We need time to work with each other. We need time to reflect on student growth and student challenges. So when Don said, hey, why don't you come talk with some folks about the Pennsylvania STEM Network, I became really excited, and I started reading about STEMX and ASSET, and I thought there's some really nice stuff going on here. So just briefly going to touch upon engaging STEM teachers, because there's lots of excitement. Is this thing kind of loud? Are we okay? Can I see a thumbs up if you're okay? Hey, all right. Okay. So there's some excitement internationally, federally, in Pennsylvania, in our own districts around STEM. And it's sort of like a sine curve. There's really great moments when we're all really excited, and then it kind of dies off a little bit. We're kind of busy, grading to do and things like that. And then it comes back again. So there have been a couple cycles for STEM engagement. And I really want to know what it is that's going to advance STEM education in Pennsylvania and across the planet, wherever we are in that sine curve. So I think the answer, and I'm going to the end right now of my brief hello, is that we need to have teachers involved in the stewardship of STEM. We need ASSET and Philadelphia Math and Science Coalition being leaders who can build an infrastructure that helps teachers transition to stewardship of STEM education. Because once the funding dries out, or once there's another new educational innovation, as teachers, we know we've got to be with the kids and sustaining their interest in STEM education. Can I have the next slide, please? How's that look up there? Oh, good. That's great. Better than down here. But this is beautiful. Thank you. So I took a look at the math national standards and the science and engineering standards from the framework of for science education, and I came across a couple themes that I thought were really important and connected to Governor Corbett's comments, and really zeroed in on what ASSET has been emphasizing in terms of STEM literacy and STEM fluency. One of the things that the framework for science education emphasizes is the beauty and wonder of STEM. That's one of the things that when the children graduate from our K-12 program, they should have an appreciation. That's one of the first things on page 1 of the framework. And I jumped over to the NCTM standards, and they have the word beauty, they have power of STEM in some kind of way. So beauty, power, wonder, it's all wonderful. We want to have critical and creative thinkers. I think Governor Corbett mentioned that. To what end? To solve problems, or to see opportunities and come up with new innovations. For example, right now across the state of Pennsylvania, children are talking to some extent about fracking. And as scientists, engineers, mathematicians, we have an opportunity to help students develop their creative thinking and their critical thinking around a politically charged topic. We know that in some sense, fracking does create jobs, And on the other hand, there are some costs in terms of the energy we put into extracting the resources, and yet we all really love our standard of living with all the energy that's available in the United States. So how do we sustain our standard of living and manage energy extraction and create jobs for people? How do we balance all of that? I think the answer is in this math and science emphasis on critical and creative thinking. A love of learning connects us to today's theme. That's a big element in the framework for science education. When our kids leave our schools, they should have a lifelong relationship with learning. And the issue of economic and social literacy and fluency is important here. Both the NCTM and the framework emphasize the importance of children being able to choose careers that would help them live a good life, whether it's in science, technology, engineering, and math. So next slide, please. This is Alejandro. Alejandro is a student of mine, and he said, we went down to the river to do some studies, and he said, wait, Mr. Sherif, don't touch the water. And I was about to scoop up some water for some pH testing and nitrates and phosphates. He said, it's not safe. And so this, to me, it represented a learning opportunity. It's a teachable moment. And so I'm wondering, like, what happened in the last 16 years that Alejandro had the fear of the Schuylkill River? I mean, you don't want to go swimming in there. Okay, you know, wear a preserver and have a boat, maybe, or maybe a canoe. So how did he arrive at school having this fear? Which gets back to the issue of a civic STEM literacy and fluency. I think it's important for our folks like Alejandro to be able to participate in discussions about how we sustain our standard of living from a scientific perspective. What tools can Alejandro use as he comes out of our K-12 system? Next slide, please. Teachers really look at a couple of buckets, and I want to advance this idea for us. As teacher leaders, we need to think about curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Policy is what helps integrate those areas and makes sure that we have the opportunities to reflect on how that really looks. I said to a friend of mine, I said, I'm really interested in teacher leadership. What about you? I'm like, hey. It's like, teacher leadership. I'm really interested in professional development. So if you take a look at instruction, how do we learn? That's good for kids. That's also good for teachers. Why not have teachers be involved more in the facilitation of professional development? Next slide, please. This is another student of mine. She won the award for the most bends on her glass. We were doing lab safety early in the year. A couple of recommendations for STEM education. If we look at TIMSS, if we look at PISA, we're doing some international comparisons. So why not ask the question, are there international standards for STEM education? I think one thing I would also like to recommend is a project-based approach to STEM. Not only do I want to turn to an engineer in the room and say, how do you manage cycles in engineering classes? It's a great question. But how can we both, over in biology, chemistry, physics, math, talk about cycles as we study the environment? What is it about water quality that reflects back on cycles? So I happen to really like environmental science as a way to bring all the different fields together. There are many ways. Up in Scranton, folks working with Geisinger perhaps could look at healthcare as a study topic, K through 12, or even in your own school or in your own department. I think projects is the way to investigate how STEM can be integrated. I think that when it comes to assessment, we need to have a little more teacher stewardship of that so that we can engage kids. Every single assessment has got to be building student engagement. And if we look at the Keystone Biology exam and the high-stakes orientation towards proficiency or advanced in order to graduate, that's, to me, more of a punitive way of looking at what we want to do to engage children. If they are afraid of a test, if they are afraid of a topic, or if they are annoyed, kids are going to be annoyed, right? If they're going to be annoyed, then maybe that's not the best way for us to opt into the Keystone Biology exam. So I would recommend that we have a Keystone diploma, and that with the Keystone diploma, you get $500 to attend a state college because you are a Keystone scholar. That's more of an incentive-based approach to standardized testing. I want to see a STEM teacher network. And again, after all the dust settles, can we thank ASSET? Can we thank Math and Science Coalition for their leadership, all of our university and district sponsors for helping us build teacher capacity. We're working 50 hours a week. So with 50 hours a week, where do we find the time for our own civic engagement, for family, for rest, wellness? I think hybrid teacher roles are the way to do that. So I'd like to invite everybody and their friend to say, hey, we want hybrid teachers that have half time in the classroom and half time with stewardship of the profession, maybe 2 years. Can I get a witness? Yes, thank you. And I'll do it for 2 years. I'll rotate out, and my next buddy over here in the blue shirt, it's his turn, and then it's her turn, and we all rotate. We have that. Next slide. 2 readings are going to recommend The Missing Link in School Reform from Pittsburgh. Give it up for Pittsburgh. Yay! Carrie Lena is at the University of Pittsburgh School of Business, and she talks about teachers being involved in school reform and the importance of social capital. Second reading, Cultivating Teacher Renewal, really important book from Barbara Larrabee. There are so many voices in our heads telling us that we are good, we are not good, are we doing enough, are we doing too much, are we not, what's going on? Barbara says, settle down, meditate, exercise, get some sleep, drink less coffee. I've had a lot of coffee this morning. Can you see how I'm talking about it? So we really need to cultivate teacher renewal because we got to be strong for our kids. We have to be present. And if we're kind of like a little tired because we have 150 kids, well, we got to figure out a new system. Next slide, please. And I'm wrapping it up. This is the picture of out of my hotel room. Thank you to ASSET for the very nice room. And thank you to, of course, the Philadelphia Math and Science Coalition for inviting me here. This picture is pretty interesting because it's a beautiful river with lots of parking lot and rooftop. I'm thinking green roofs. I'm thinking bioretention pools. I'm thinking engineering of the swales. And I think that's probably one way to imagine what STEM could look like. Is there a problem? Perhaps. Is there an opportunity? Certainly. Can we do it? I think we can. Thank you very much.